Every single time we go online, every moment we're scrolling or connecting, we're kind of living inside this fundamental tension,
Hmm.
this constant push and pull between something that gives us extraordinary utility and at the same time, something that feels like a deep systemic danger.
Yeah. And it's not a bug.
No, exactly. According to the source material you shared with us, this tension is. It's the core feature of our digital world. So welcome to the deep dive. Today we are opening up a really crucial source for analysis. Excerpts from social media's Balance of Benefit and Peril.
And that title alone says so much.
It really does. Okay, so let's unpack this because our mission today isn't to just, list a bunch of pros and cons.
Right.
We're here to dissect the very framework this source lays out, especially what's captured in that subtitle. Balancing benefits and dangers in the age of social media.
Uh-huh.
We're looking at the intellectual architecture the author is using to understand these platforms
Mhm.
and how that architecture should inform how we respond to them.
And that's really the crucial starting point. What's so fascinating to me here is that the source, right from the jump, it establishes a duality.
A duality,
It acknowledges both the benefit and the peril
yeah.
as inherent. They aren't separate things.
They're two sides of the same coin.
Exactly. And that raises a huge question for us. When a tool defines an entire ecosystem, and that tool is simultaneously defined by its potential for incredible good and catastrophic harm, how do we even begin to manage it?
Where do you start?
It suggests the good and the bad. They just exist together all the time.
Okay, let's start right there then, with the language. The
Yeah.
language of opposition. The source doesn't just treat the downsides as, manageable risks.
No, not at all.
It puts them right in the title with the word peril.
Peril.
So, why peril? I mean, it sounds so urgent, so much more serious than the standard risk or danger that we usually hear.
Well, I think that semantic choice is incredibly deliberate. It has to be.
Okay,
If we were discussing, say, financial markets or maybe an engineering project, we'd talk about risk.
right, something you can calculate.
Exactly. Something you can measure, mitigate, maybe insure against.
Mm-hmm.
But the source uses peril. And peril suggests an inherent and immediate threat of a serious, maybe even non-negotiable consequence.
So it's not a spreadsheet problem.
Not at all. It moves the whole discussion away from simple damage control and towards a question of structural integrity. Is this thing fundamentally stable? It forces us to recognize that the negative outcomes aren't just external flaws. They're not bugs to be patched. They are hazards that are baked into the core product.
And they're constantly threatening to destabilize the whole thing.
Right. It just demands a much more urgent structural response than just, simple risk mitigation.
So the source is defining the entire system by this opposition. It's not like, here are the benefits, and oh, by the way, watch out for these risks.
No.
It's a dynamic system where the benefits and the perils are actually drawing their energy from the exact same engine.
That's the core of it.
And here's where it gets really interesting for me, based on that reading, this pairing. It suggests that the benefits might sometimes intrinsically lead to the perils.
Yes, they're
The
connected.
very features that make social media so successful, the scale, the speed, the viral amplification,
Good as hell.
all the good stuff, those are the exact same mechanisms that amplify disinformation or hate speech or severe psychological harm. The source forces you to confront that direct connection.
That's absolutely correct. And if we connect this to the bigger picture, the source is implying that the greatest successes often require the same mechanisms that lead to the greatest failures. And to really get this, we have to look at the underlying technical choices.
The design of it all.
The design, yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, we know that modern social platforms are engineered to maximize one thing above all else: engagement.
Right. Time on platform.
Exactly. Time spent. And that's the primary benefit for the companies. And it provides utility for users, sure. But to maximize that metric, the algorithm prioritizes content that generates the strongest reaction as quickly as possible.
And that's where the inseparability lies, isn't it?
It is. The system that guarantees speed and high engagement is structurally completely agnostic to the content's quality or its veracity. It just doesn't care.
So if the system is designed to reward intense emotional reaction, which is fast and viral, it's inherently incentivizing the push towards peril, even though what it's really seeking is the benefit of retention, of keeping you there.
Precisely.
So the mechanism you would use to organize a massive life-saving disaster relief effort is the exact same one used to spread coordinated election interference.
It's a self-fulfilling negative feedback loop, and it's built right into the design. mean, think about it. If we stop optimizing for virality, then the acknowledged benefits like rapid communication, ease of organizing, they start to diminish.
The tool becomes less powerful.
Less powerful, yeah.
Yeah.
But if we continue to optimize for those metrics, the perils accelerate. They get worse and worse. And this structural conflict is precisely why the source demands continuous intervention, which, that leads us right to this concept of balancing.
Right. So if this duality is just the nature of the beast, we have to ask, how does the source define the arena? Where does this constant struggle for stabilization actually take place? And that brings us to section 2, where the source defines the environment, the age of social media.
Which is such a powerful phrase.
It's a really powerful framing device. It doesn't use tentative language like a phase or a trend. It calls it an age.
Yeah.
So what is the source suggesting by framing this whole balancing act within a specific epoch like that?
The weight of that phrase, the age of social media, I mean, it cannot be overstated because the source is making a profound historical argument here.
How so?
Well, think back to previous technological revolutions,
Yeah.
the age of steam power, the printing press age. These technologies weren't just temporary trends.
Oh, they changed everything.
They fundamentally reorganized human society, commerce, how we transfer knowledge, and it lasted for centuries.
So by calling this the age of social media, the author is arguing that the platform is no longer just a communication tool.
It's so much more. It is the central infrastructure of modern public life.
Wow.
And therefore, the issues of benefit and peril, they're not confined to isolated platforms anymore. They permeate everything, our culture, our economics, our politics.
So the source is saying the platform is now the dominant defining environment for critical human interaction and information exchange. It's like the air we breathe online, and if that air gets polluted, everybody suffers.
That's a perfect analogy.
Yeah.
And the speed of this age is what really distinguishes it from all the previous revolutions.
To see, yeah.
The printing press had risks. Of course it did. It decentralized knowledge. It allowed seditious material to spread, but that spread was constrained.
By what? By physical limitations?
By physical limitations, by literacy rates, by logistics, by time. I mean, it took centuries for it to completely redefine society.
But with social media, the scale is instantly global. And the spread of information or, misinformation, it's instantaneous.
Yes.
And that instantaneous global reach, that's what makes this duality so much more immediately threatening in this age.
It completely changes the calculation of balance. It's not the same game. The source implies that the ubiquity of these tools, the acceleration of exchange in this age, it makes achieving and maintaining a balance exponentially harder than managing risks in previous technologies.
It's just moving too fast.
The risk window is compressed to almost nothing, and the consequence is magnified to a global scale. Instantly.
So these aren't just temporary bugs that are going to be patched out in the next update.
No. The author is arguing that these are deep structural challenges. They have to be constantly addressed within our societal and regulatory frameworks, precisely because the platforms have become fundamental infrastructure.
If the platform defines the age,
Then platform instability is societal instability. It's that simple.
okay, that brings us right back to the action word we keep seeing in the subtitle.
Yeah.
Balancing. It suggests an active, continuous effort. The source is clearly being prescriptive here.
Right.
But here's my question. If the benefits and the perils are truly inseparable, if the same algorithms are driving both the good and the bad, doesn't that make the whole idea of balancing fundamentally impossible?
Yeah.
I mean, is the source being a little overly optimistic about our capacity to actually control this duality?
That is an excellent challenge to the premise. And I think the source would say it doesn't promise a simple equilibrium. It's not promising a stable, perfect balance.
So what is it promising?
It's arguing for continuous stabilization. It's an action, not a state. It acknowledges that perfect balance might be impossible in a system that is optimized for acceleration. But it insists that the attempt to balance is imperative.
So it's the effort that counts.
It's the effort that matters. The source suggests that the moment you stop actively applying force to the equation, the natural gravity of the system, which is driven by human nature and technical optimization,
It's just going to pull it one way.
it will push the scale rapidly toward peril. It demands critical thinking. It demands continuous intervention.
Let's get concrete here then. We've established that managing social media is inherently this act of continuous stabilization. So what does this required effort actually look like for different stakeholders?
Well, it looks very different depending on where you sit in the ecosystem.
Okay, so let's start with the creators, the platforms themselves.
For the creators of the platforms, the developers,
Yeah.
the designers, Continuous stabilization means actively resisting the simple, easy metric of pure engagement.
So fighting their own business model, in a way.
In a way, yes. It means consciously introducing friction into the system. Things like changing feed defaults away from sensationalism, or enforcing real limits on how fast something can be virally shared.
Slowing things down on purpose.
Exactly. That's active balancing through deliberate design choices. It's choosing to favor quality over sheer velocity.
Okay, so what about for policymakers and regulators? Where does the source imply they must intervene?
Well, if the platform defines the age, as we've said, the source suggests the regulatory framework needs to be just as robust as the laws that govern our physical infrastructure.
Like roads or the power grid.
Precisely. It's about ensuring transparency in how these systems are optimized. It's about regulating the massive flow of data that feeds the algorithms. And it's about demanding accountability for systemic failure. Without, and this is the hard part, without stifling the legitimate benefits that these tools offer.
That's the real tightrope walk.
It is. And then finally, for you, the user, balancing means something else entirely. It means active media literacy and a kind of self-awareness.
Meaning what, exactly?
It means recognizing that the surge of adrenaline or anger you feel when you see some viral piece of content, that feeling might be a signal that the system is successfully pushing the scale toward peril.
So your own emotional reaction is a data point.
It's a key data point.
Yeah.
And continuous stabilization for the user means intentionally choosing to prioritize slower, more reliable sources. It means you're shifting your personal input into the whole equation, shifting it toward the side of benefit.
You know, what really stands out to me in all this is that the source is demanding that we all stop being passive consumers of this stuff.
Absolutely.
If the system only balances when effort is actively applied, then just accepting the status quo apathy is essentially choosing the peril side of the scale.
That's a great way to put it.
It's a collective and ongoing responsibility that really defines this age we're in.
That is the ultimate takeaway. I mean, the structure presented by this powerful source material is definitive. Social media is characterized by an inseparable duality, benefit, and peril.
Right.
It defines an age, making it societal infrastructure. And it requires continuous action. Stabilization, that's the framework.
We really hope this deep dive into the source's conceptual structure has given you a much firmer framework for analyzing this defining challenge of our time. It urges us to move beyond viewing social media as monolithically good or monolithically bad.
Yeah, that's too simple.
And instead to embrace the necessary complexity of continuous management. It really reframes the whole debate from should we use it to how do we maintain a sustainable balance within this new age.
And let's leave you with one final thought based on the source's premise.
Okay.
If the defining feature of the age is the simultaneous, inseparable presence of benefit and peril, and the balance requires this continuous stabilization, then what specific type of technological or maybe regulatory intervention would be necessary to ensure the forces of benefit structurally outweigh the forces of peril, even when the system is under maximum stress?
That's the complex question the author leaves us with, isn't it?
It is.
Something to think about as you navigate the age of social media. We'll see you next time on The Deep Dive.